All right, I'm gonna try to, Eric. You know, the pressure's on. Pressure's on. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Oh, that was pretty nice. That was nice. Look, I got a question for you. What's the hardest time to do a workshop presentation?
After lunch.
All right, you can go. This morning, when we did our keynote, the Generational Crossroads, Eric, because of time, we really didn't have a chance. I'm standing here because this air feels real good right here, so I'm sorry if my back is to you guys, but I got my own little thing going on here, so. It's a boomer phenomenon. Oh girl, come on, you can stand up here, put your chair right here. Shoot, matter of fact, you can move right over there by her, because she's freezing. Matt and I didn't kind of give you guys an opportunity to hear a little bit about us and our stories. And I'm going to make mine brief because I'm old and I could take up the entire hour and whatever time we have.
No way.
Yes, I can. Anyway, I am a PK. Oh. No, I'm not a preacher's kid. No, I'm not a preacher's kid. I'm a project kid. Different kind of my initials happen to be PK as well, which is also very interesting on my journey. But I am a kid of the projects of West Oakland, California. And listening to Pastor Armstrong, and I even told him as he was going on his way, on his journey back, that listening to his story was really bringing, I got full, y'all, I gotta say. I got full because a lot of the things that he shared, I didn't have the drugs and all that stuff in my family, thank goodness. But many of the things that he shared, I saw many of my friends experiencing with their parents. I am also a recovering elementary school teacher. I left education because I found I was doing more work with the parents of my students than I did during the hours of 9 to 2:45 with my students. And also, it's amazing how when Daryl was talking about these angels and your journeys and all of this and, you know, people that you meet, I have family that still live in that same area of South Central LA that he talked about. So we had our chance to kind of talk about Slauson Avenue and 14th and Crenshaw Boulevard and all that kind of stuff for a few minutes. And I taught at a school in Watts, at an elementary school. And there was a principal there, you know, and I was real green. I wanted to save the world. I still do at 59, still trying to figure out how I can save the world. But there was a principal there, Dr. Flournoy, who was, I guess you would consider her one of my first professional angels. And working in an elementary school in Watts at the beginnings of the crack cocaine epidemic really shattered a lot of dreams for a lot of people. And it frustrated me because on Monday mornings, after my students went home on Friday, on Monday mornings, I could not start my class until I gave them about 10 or 15 minutes to talk about their weekends. Ooh, you should have been there. Ooh, they had the helicopters flying around and they broke down so-and-so's house and da-da-da-da-da. They had to get all of that stuff out before we were able to start school. And I say this to you because I went to Dr. Flournoy's office one morning in tears. Because I told her, I can't do this. You know, these stories are too sad. I want to take all my students home. You know, I just can't do this. And she said to me, Pat, if you can just save one. If you can just save one, you've done your job. That was hard for somebody like me to hear because every one of those young people in that class meant something to me. But I knew that being a teacher was not enough for me. So I went back to school and I got my master's in social work at Cal Berkeley. And I say that to you because as a project kid, I shouldn't be here. As a project kid, I shouldn't have your undivided attention listening to this crazy black girl, black woman, talking about stuff that, you know, I get paid to do this and I truly enjoy my work. But statistically, I should not be here. I was raised by a single parent who worked in a laundry for over 35 years. And with that, I started my first job. Well, I thought I was going to start my first job when I was graduating from high school at Department of Motor Vehicles, making $525 a month. I thought, and it was at the time, that was big money. 1972, 73, shoot. I had already programmed, I was gonna get my apartment, I was gonna have my car. I mean, I had spent that $525, okay? Hadn't thought about the fact that they take taxes out of that. Hadn't thought about that. So, you know, I had big dollar signs. And, you know, it's bad when your mother, like many of our parents, probably migrated from the South if they moved west or north or east or wherever they moved from. But my mom had migrated from Arkansas to California, and along with that, a friend of hers came at the same time, who ironically later on became the principal at my high school. So you know that was a mess. I couldn't do anything wrong. You know, so it's like you have these people surrounding you. So I'm blessed to be here. I am also the recovering parent of two adolescents who are now 30 and 35 years old. And I'm gonna tell you, how many of you have children? Say, well, have children. Let's start there. Whether they're yours biologically or they just seem to want to stay attached to you, all right? Don't have to be biological, all right? So you've got these children, all right? So if they're over the age of, say, 16, raise your hand. Bless your heart. Okay, let me give you a secret. When they get ready to graduate from high school, you start making your move to downsize. I'm telling you, start making your move to downsize. Because if you keep that big old 5-bedroom, 4.5-bath house with a basement that has its own entrance, they're gonna stay with you. I'm just telling you, you start downsizing then. Put it in their head, you know, you're gonna be leaving here in, you know, I love you, but you gotta get out of here. You know, wherever the plan is, there's gotta be a plan. And I say that again because we need to teach our young people to be responsible. We need, and another secret, those same young people that you're raising will be the ones to choose your nursing home. I'm just telling you. Just telling you. So you think about that. Whatever your reason is for making sure that young people are healthy, you hold on to that reason. And my other reason that I do the work that I do is because I want all of you who are younger than me, much, much younger than me, all of you who are younger than me, to understand that your purpose for me is very, very simple. I want you to go to work. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be educated. I want you to enjoy your job, because when you go to work, they take taxes out of your check. Whatever your passion is, find it. My passion is to make sure that you go to work so they take those taxes out of your check so I get my check, okay? Bam!
Brief, right? Yeah, you said brief.
I did say brief, Don. Sorry.
I gotta follow that up. Thank you for throwing me under the bus. Hey everybody, my name is Ahmed Torre. I'm a self-proclaimed rock star.
Yes.
I'm a recent graduate of UNC Charlotte.
Woohoo! Paying taxes, paying taxes.
Yeah. You can send me my bill. Send me my bill. But I'm here today because I want to thank you all. All right? What you all do is you are inspiring, you are helping, you are protecting, you are building a foundation for the younger generation to go out and accomplish these great things, and oftentimes you don't get a thank you for it. You don't get a thank you note from the kid whose life you helped keep together. You don't get a thank you note from the parent who understands how to raise their child now. You don't get a thank you note from the kid if they do well in school. You don't get that thank you note. And as I'm here on my journey, I understand that it's my place at this time to come back and thank you all, because you all are rock stars. You all are the reason why millennials are able to make as far as we've been making it. Maybe you'll get a check for it, maybe you won't. It's okay. All right. A lot of us are entrepreneurial. A lot of us are entrepreneurial. All right. So, all right. Since you all are rock stars, okay, we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk about race. We're gonna talk about the impact that race has on ourselves. We're not gonna look at it as we're not gonna look at race from the perspective of, you know, your gender and your race and your color compared to another one, to someone else. We're gonna talk about you and you in particular. All right, we're gonna talk about you and what makes you different, your diversity, what makes you different from the person that you're sitting next to, whether they're the same color, whether you all come from the same background, whether you have the same socioeconomic status. That's what we're gonna talk about. But before we get to that, I have to remind you that you all are rock stars. So if everyone would, could you say rock star lifestyle?
Rock star lifestyle.
All right, now when you are part of rock star lifestyle, you have a duty, all right, to do your job, wear a smile, but inspire the person right after you to want to be better than you are. All right, and this is how you do it. It's really simple. You just make it like you're having a great time doing whatever it is you're doing, okay? Now, as a rock star, you have superpowers. Now, they probably didn't tell you this, but you all have superpowers. If you will, look down at your right hand. Look at your right hand. All right, say, hey, hand.
Hey, hand.
Now, put this hand high up in the sky like this. Now, what I want you to do is give everyone around you a high five. Go ahead.
High five. High five. Yeah, high five. Woohoo! High five. Rockstar lifestyle. Give me that five, girl. Give me that five. Yeah.
All right, now, if you would, look around. See, people are smiling. People have smiles on their faces. They're grinning. They're having a good time. And that was just by you just extending your hand. This amazing right hand of yours, you gave someone else a high five, you instantly put a smile on their face. So when you leave here and you're in the corridor, or maybe you're in the parking lot, or maybe you're in the food line, or maybe you're just shopping around, you see someone with their head down like they're not having a good time, put your hand up just like this. Oh, it worked. They might think you're creepy. They might think you're creepy. But they're gonna give you a high five, and they're gonna look back like, man, they're gonna smile. And that's what this is about. All right, that's what this is about. You all are rock stars. Now I'm gonna tell you a bit of my story. My name is Ahmed Torre. My parents are originally from the Ivory Coast. So I'm a second, well, I'm not, I wasn't born in America. I was actually born in France. My parents are from the Ivory Coast. We grew up in a foreign home. I was raised in Bronx, New York. When we first got there, my mother decided she wanted to come to America because she wanted the American dream. She wanted better for her children, or at least at the time it was me, her child. So we got here, she got a job as a chef. We were bouncing around, sleeping on couches of her co-workers so she could get stable and so we, really get accustomed to society. And I know, once I'm really confident, and I feel like we're millennials, so we're just the greatest things ever. But I know by looking back at my peers who I grew up around, we didn't all go down the same path. We didn't all go down the same path. Some people graduated from college, some people didn't make it that far. Some people graduated from high school, some people spent their high school time in a correctional facility. All right, and I know that the reason why I was able to make it to this point and other people maybe were able to make it to their points was because there are people in society like yourselves who would care for their well-being. Whether it's in social services, whether it's going by the home to make sure that the children had the things they needed, making sure that children were doing what they were supposed to do in their classroom, and things of that nature. So I'm here to thank you all for that work because you all are rock stars for it. You all are superheroes for it. You're not going to get a thank you, as I said earlier, from everyone, but hopefully this thank you is sincere enough for you to recognize, to inspire you to keep doing the work you're doing, and to give out random high fives. Okay? We're going to talk about race today. I know we all had the overview. All right, so yeah, this is an overview from us. Eric went over this morning. We do a lot of trainings all throughout the United States. I've been fortunate enough, as well as Pat, to travel across a couple of states here. We've been to New York. We're going to North Dakota. We're going to California,
right.
Dallas. You know, we've been blessed.
Really excited to go to North Dakota.
Oh yeah. You have no idea.
I mean, we're going to double the black population by.
Everyone do is you all are rock stars. You don't need anything in your hands right now. If everyone please just stand up. You don't need anything in your hands. You don't need anything in your hands. All right, now you gave somebody a high five. I'm gonna show you your next superpower as a rock star. All right, go ahead. I want you to make a fist like this. Make a fist. All right. This is the pound. Say pound. Pound. All right. What you do is whenever let's say someone makes a good comment or you want to give somebody some kudos, but you don't really want to interrupt the session by giving a high five, you give somebody a pound. All right. So if you would find someone to your left, right. All right, and give him a pound. Now, if you want, you can blow it up.
Oh, that was nice.
All right, now with that person. All right, so with that person, what I'm going to have you do is I want you to face that person. All right, introduce yourself, say your name, where you're from. So we're getting ready to go into a competition with the person that you just introduced yourself to. All right, we're getting ready to go into a competition. All right, the competition is about who can give the response the quickest. All right, because understand, in this session we're talking about race, we're talking about diversity. So what we need for you is we need you to be real. We need you to be real. We need those good reflexes. I want you to say what comes to your mind just like that. Maybe a little bit of filter, maybe a little bit of filter. All right? But I want you to be real. I want you to be absolutely real. So here's how we're going to practice that. So we have to practice it before we can get you going. So with that hand in the air, I want you to count to 5. So count your fingers,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Now, I want you to start with 6, counting on your partner's hand. So
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right.
Now, don't forget now, there's some social workers in here. So I told you, we don't do math too well. So you got to slow that down.
All right, we'll slow it down. All right, what I want you to do is take that right hand, put it behind your back. Put it behind your back. Now, while that hand is behind your back, you're going to pick a number, 1 through 5. 1 through 5. Now, we're all family here. We all love each other. If you're going to pick one, it has to be the appropriate one. All right? We're all friends. We're all friends. All right? What's going to happen is, you already picked that number behind your back. I'm going to count to 3 and say go. And when I say go, you're going to show the amount of fingers that you have behind your back. All right? Pat and I will demonstrate. All right? All right, we're going slow motion for you because everything is better in slow motion. All right? So hands behind your back. You pick a number 1 through 5. All right? If it's 1, Pat, remember you love me. And,
Gotcha.
All right, so we're going to show the amount of fingers that we have, and then the object of this activity is to say the amount of fingers that are out before your partner does. All right, so here we are. All right, we're going to demonstrate. 1, 2, 3, 4.
5.
Yeah, 5. All right.
Whoa!
All right, so see what happened there? I showed 2, Pat showed 3. She said 5 before I did. All right, so she won that round. Okay?
Real simple.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do it 3 times. First go round 1. So I want you to look at your partner and say, good luck. Good luck. All right, you have your hand behind
huddle together and count all three.
Get in your competitive stance. This is about to get real. Competitive stance. All right. 1, 2, 3, go. I want you to get in the stare. Get in the stare.
Get that stare. Get that stare.
All right. 1, 2. Look how quiet it gets. That's perfect. All right, y'all competitive. All right. 1, 2, 3, go. Give me a partner high five. Give me a partner high five.
Can't hear it all.
Okay.
All right, so everyone is refreshed. Everybody's awake now. All right, we got the lunch jitters out. Now we're good to go. So today we're talking about diversity. And in order for this to be effective, we have to be honest. All right, because if we sugarcoat everything, nothing's going to get done. Nothing's going to be resolved. You're not going to go out of here with a better understanding of yourself. And essentially, that's what we want. We want you to leave here with a better understanding of yourself. Because when you find out what makes you diverse, what makes you different, you also find out what you'll have in common with other people. And when you have that relationship with someone else, it's much easier to give advice. It's much easier to guide them along. If I'm your friend, let's say Pat. I love Pat to death. Me and Pat have a lot of things in common. If the first thing that comes out of Pat's mouth when I see her is, boy, you need to pull up your pants, I might pull up my pants, but then when she's not looking, I'm gonna pull it back down. All right? I'm saying, you know what, you don't really know me, that's like that. But now that me and Pat have a strong relationship, I know we have things in common. I know she has my best interest at heart. If she tells me to pull up my pants, I won't think twice of it. She may have to tell me 2 or 3 times, but I won't think twice of it. And I appreciate her for the information. So what we want to do is we want to give you all the tools so that you all are more confident when you go out and meet strangers, meet different families, meet different children, to say, you know what, I can relate with you on this level. We may look different, we may come from different backgrounds, we may not even speak the same, but we have these things in common. We have a common goal, and our common goal today is for you to do great things, because we're rock stars, right? All right.
Now, 1 more minute. Finish up that sentence. Said, we're all family. So, you don't have to blow up your neighbor by, sharing what Carla said, or you don't have to give their names, but with the folks that you were sitting next to, what did you find out? Why they came or you came to this workshop? Somebody. Yes, ma'am.
That you came in to tell me this young lady right here was part of a group that was when Rowles started integrating into the South. She was 9 years old, and she was part of a session like this to get them ready for integration.
Wow. I honor you. I honor you. She was part of a session to get them integrated, and you were 9 years old? Wow. You've seen a lot. You've seen a lot. Somebody else. Somebody else. Why this session? Yes, ma'am. She is.
She says that she wants to hold her own. She's kind of, tired of the handout situation. People are always trying to save, the races. And, it's like sometimes they already have it together, some of them. And they're not just wanting a handout. They want to be able to be productive. And you already have to give, just want to give you to.
Right.
I'm here, but I'm also willing to learn. And I want to learn. I'm not always just wanting a handout.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing that. Did you want to add to?
Yeah, just ways to, as we diversify ourselves, create opportunities of just networking and being open.
Good. Well, we're going to do that right now. We're going to do that right now. You're going to have an opportunity to network with some folks. Oh, sorry, man. You're going to have an opportunity to find out some commonalities that you might share with maybe 4, 5, this large group. We might have to even go larger, but we won't go too much larger than that. 6 people, okay? So, as we go down our journey, whatever our personal journey is, our lives, you get messages all the time. People look at you and they make certain perceptions about you. Some they can see, and some they're not able to see. And you hear these messages all the time. And we refer to those messages as sounds. As sounds. The sounds you hear about being a baby boomer. The sounds you hear about being gay or lesbian. The sounds you hear about being a preacher's kid. The sounds you hear about being a teen parent. We hear these messages all the time, and they have a way of shaping how we view other people who share that same stereotype or perception. It frames it in a way. Well, in the next 10 minutes, we're going to talk about what some of those sounds of stereotypes are like. Okay? So, we're going to provide you with a little worksheet. And while we're passing them out, I want you to think about what some of those identities are that you might share with somebody else in the room. Say, for example, you can see that I'm Black or African American. What you cannot see is that I'm a NASCAR fan. Why are you laughing? See? There's a perception, again, of what NASCAR fans look like. And my friend over here is in a state of shock. Okay? So there are perceptions that people have based on those identities. If we don't have enough sheets for you, you can just use a piece of paper. But what I want you to do is to think about maybe 3 or 4 of those identities that you might share, like being a first-generation college student, like being a mother, a single parent, like being a single dad, like being the oldest in your family, I want you to think about identities. Say 2 that you can see and maybe 2 that you cannot see. Okay? 2 that you can see, 2 that you cannot see. What are some identities that you might share with some other people in this room? You might be raised Catholic, but now you're in a Jewish household. And I say that because that's exactly what Eric Rowles is a part of. His wife is Jewish and they're raising their children Jewish. So those are different identities that you can have. So if you can think of 2 that we can see outwardly and 2 that are inside that we cannot see or make some kind of judgment on, that'd be great. All right? Any questions on that? Any questions on that? 2 you can see, 2 you cannot see. And you're going to need to have these written down because you're going to find some folks that share one of those identities that you share. It could be your gender, it could be your ethnic group. It could be that English is not your first language. Whatever that is, okay? Two that you can see, 2 you cannot see. All right. We ready? You ready? Wave your hand if you need more time. Okay, we need to move on. So I would like for you, if you can, with the people who are around you, some of you may have to move, but due to the sake of time, if you can find an identity with the people that are right around you rather than us trying to move all around, that would be awesome. An identity that you might share with the people that you are closest to around your table. So you could have a group of women, you could have a group of dads, you could have a group of men, you could have a group of athletes. You have an identity with the folks around you that you can share. You can have a group of boomers. You can have a group of poor college students. No. How are you guys doing?
briefly. Also, as you're going out here finding your groups, if you could, the sweet spot for a amount of people in your group, we're looking for about 3 or 4 per group.
That's the real good spot. And if you can't, we'll work it out. That's perfect. That works for me. Okay? Did my friend find a group? What you looking for? Is there a social work group in the house? Group of social workers? Woo-hoo! Here's some social workers over here. You what? It doesn't matter. Twice. You can hear me clap 3 times. Now, very good. Can you tell I was a teacher? All right. Now, this is what I want you to do. What's the name of your group, first of all? You got to have a name, whatever that identity is that you come up with. Like women, social workers, men, dads, firstborn, whatever that name is. That is your identity. That will be your identity. Okay? It's a big group. You can hear me once? Clap. You can hear me twice? Clap twice? All right. You have your identity. Now, for the next 2 minutes, I want you to think of all of the sounds of stereotypes, both positive and negative, that you have heard about that identity. Positive and negative stereotypes that you have heard, not that you've said them, but you've heard about what it's like to be a man, what it's like to be a woman, what it's like to be an athlete. What are those names? What are those sounds? What are those identities? What are those terms that you've heard to describe your identity? Okay, 2 minutes, go. What are they?
So we're going to have to do them report out and then rewrite the city. Just let me know when you're ready. I'm going to have them clap. So whenever you're, y'all ready? Give yourselves a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. All right. So everyone in your group, you should have a list of the stereotypes that you heard about the group that you identify with, right? These are good things, these are bad things. These aren't things that you necessarily believe in, all right? These aren't things that you are affirming. These are just things that you have heard before, all right? Now, essentially, what you have created is your CD, It's the sound of the stereotypes, the sound of your stereotypes. Now, about 15 years ago, if it was on a CD, that was it. That was a CD, you can't change it, you can't edit it, you can't put any other different songs in there or any different kind of tracks on there. But, thanks to millennials, just playing. But now, we have the ability to rewrite our CDs, all right? Now, before we rewrite our CDs, let's hear about some of the groups, all right? So I know we have a lot of groups here. What are some of the groups that we have here? So, which group is this? This is the parents groups. All right, let's give the parents a round of applause. Parents, a round of applause. You all have it tough. You all have it very tough. All right, so what are some of the... Here I am reaffirming stereotypes. All right, so what are some of the stereotypes that you hear as parents?
Okay, some of these are facts and some of these are stereotypes. When rewarding, you lose yourself, you have no social life, it's hard, you have rules, worry, want control in your goal.
All right. Now, these are all stereotypes. These are all stereotypes. Now, let's give them a round of applause. Round of applause for Sharon. All right, we're going to get to what we're going to do for the next step in a bit, but I want to hear from a couple other groups. What other groups do we have here? All right.
Our group is named the Three Sisters. And what's unique about us is one of us is passionate about education. These are things that you cannot see, and she's an early educator.
Okay.
Another one of our group members, she experienced living and teaching in a third world country.
Okay.
So that's one of her things, and work experience over there as we're in teaching. And then another one of our group members has traveled to over 25 countries, and she performs dramatic interpretations of women in history and women of the Bible.
All right. Round of applause. All right, now what are some of the, what are some of the stereotypes that you all hear as, what's the group you identify as?
Three sisters.
So, like, you all are sisters? Or you,
We're sisters.
but like, all right. I can tell. No, but what are some of the stereotypes that you all hear? Like, what are some things that people say?
Sometimes kind of macho, self-centered. They're not considerate of others. They think about kind of what's important to them, not what should be important to everybody else around them.
Okay.
You know, women are always accused of being too emotional, fly off the handle, they can't control money. You know, they're not disciplined in those ways. The positive thing about women is I think they're very protective. You know,
They're very what?
Protective.
Protective.
you know, they love their children, the environment, all that stuff. Women, I think the thing that for women, they're nurturing, they really think of others very highly. I think they're open to life. They want to balance life and accepting those who are embracing qualities.
Okay. All right. Let's give a round of applause for Three Sisters. All right. Let's hear from two more groups. All right. Sorry, we're gonna go here.
We call ourselves the beautiful divas, but we identify ourselves as females.
All right, females. All right, what are some of the stereotypes that you all have heard as females?
Strong, determined, powerful, inspiring, passionate, kind, caring, smart, leaders, outspoken, great dressers, great cooks, catty, bossy, fickle or picky, moody, unathletic, whiny, controlling, outspoken, distracted, and a big one.
Wow. All right. I heard another. I saw another hand over here.
There's one behind you.
One behind me. Right here. All right, let's go here.
We call ourselves the sporty girls. We all like sports, maybe in different ways.
All right,
What was
so
that?
sporty girls.
Hey, now you in that group.
And some of the things we hear is women don't know anything about sports. Women can't do sports as good as men. Women aren't athletes or athletic. Wouldn't be interested in it.
Okay. All right, so give a round of applause. All right, one more. All right, one more. All right, here we go. All right, All right, these are the social workers.
I love to see sexy, but anyway, here's the list right here. These are the positives. We have different roles, diamond among the rough, resourceful, empowering, real sexy, that was mine. Powerful advocates, and then the stereotypes were, we go looking for problems, only work in child welfare, want to take the kids away, broke, judgmental, and bleeding hearts.
Oh. Round of applause. those are the sounds of just some of the stereotypes in this room, all right? Now, we didn't have the time to go and hear what everyone has to say, but I'm sure that you all have two things in common, right? You have things that people say that aren't true. You have things that people say that are true about you, about your identity. Well, what we want to do is we all want to be allies for each other, all right? We want you all to rewrite your CDs so that we know how to identify and how to approach sporty women. Right? Or we want to know how it is to start a conversation with social workers, right? We want to know how to be in a room and engage and connect with you all without offending anyone, all right? So, and that's what this is about today. So what we're going to do is I want you all to rewrite your CDs. All right, so what you're going to do is, and Ms. Hughes actually, she reflected this earlier, she demonstrated this for us earlier. You're going to write 3 things, all right? So first you're going to say the truth about your group is, so for me, let's say I did one right off the top of my head. Let's say the truth about New Yorkers, all right? The truth about New Yorkers. The truth about New Yorkers is we are nice people, right? Right. What we never want to hear again, there you go, all right. See, look at that, see how nice that was? All right. What we never want to hear again is that we're Yankees, right? We never want to hear that we're Yankees or that we're rude or, that we don't care about, people around us. That's not the case. It's that in New York, things are moving really fast. And we don't really have the luxury to stop and talk to everybody on the street, all right? All right? Now, you can be an ally. You can be an ally to, that's not a slight at Southern people at all, but when I got here, I was like, why is everybody talking? Let's just go. Just playing. All right. But you can be an ally to us. You can be an ally to us by recognizing that the Yankees are the best team in baseball, right? All right. But seriously, so that's what it is. So you would say what you identify as, all right? So you give your one truth about you all, something that you never want to hear again, all right? Something that you are tired of hearing. What is that stereotype that nags you? All right, that you do not want people to say, because maybe it even borderline offends you when someone says it. All right, we want to talk about that today. And then the last thing is, how can we be an ally to you? How can we support your cause? How can we make sure your movement continues to grow and go further? All right, so 3 things. The truth about you all, what you don't want to hear again, and how can we be an ally to you? All right, 2 minutes. And then, hey, we're going to privilege walk them out. Privilege walk them out. Do you think we're deep enough for it? I mean, do we have to... You want to try to bog it down? I like the song. I like the song. Right. All right, give yourselves a round of applause, round of applause, round of applause. All right. Now, I hope you all can already start to see why we're having conversations like these, the benefits of having conversations like these. Because first, you're connecting with people in ways you thought you would never connect with them, right? You're finding out things about the individuals around you, but then also you're finding out things about yourself. And that's when we're strong. When you know who you are, you're confident walking into that room, you're confident holding that conversation, you're confident connecting to that individual that you do not even know. Because you know who you are, you know where you're coming from, you know what your goals are. All right, but let's make sure we don't offend anybody in the process. So let's hear back from some of our groups. Now, we got a lot from the front on the first portion, but now we're going to start at the back. All right, so, all right, go ahead. All right, so which groups? Yeah.
Our group, we're early intervention administrators across the state. And the truth is we're problem solvers, we're goal-oriented, we're focused, we're developers of people, programs, and ideas, and we're visionaries, and we care about the end result. We never want to hear again that, that as far as early childhood education, that we can't afford it, because what we believe is that we can't afford not to do it. And let's see, the last question. What can you guys do to be an ally to us is trying to get society in general to understand that every child and family counts, regardless of their background or their education or whatever struggles they're dealing with, that every child and family counts, and we're all in this together. And that any child that's left behind, we've all lost.
All right, round of applause, round of applause. All right, thank you. You want to do yours? Oh, all right. Hold on, we'll get to y'all in a little bit. You all right? All right, let's go ahead here.
Okay, we are leading women, baby boomers.
Hey.
And what we don't want to hear anymore is that we are uncaring, false, and smooth. We want you to, the truth about us is that we are committed to what we do. And we want you to listen to the story before you judge.
There we go. Give a round of applause. All right. We on this side. What we got? Oh, now y'all are nervous?
No. So we gotta, we like to tell the whole story, so we just don't want to give you the last 3 pieces. We want to tell you the name of our group was The Naturals. Yay, we're naturals.
All right. Yeah, we the naturals.
Okay, so some of the questions, we always are asked is like, why? Why, and people say your hair's short, it's kinky, or you won't last, you're gonna go back and you're gonna relax it or whatever. So the good things about what we hear about being natural is that it's good for your body, it's good for your health. It's beautiful, you're embracing your culture, all that wonderful stuff. We even have an anthem, what's it? India Irie, I'm not my hair, so we love that. So the truth about natural hair is it's a choice, it's not, you're not required to do it, it's a choice. You just make a decision to want to be natural. We never want to hear again why. Or anywhere else, and you can be an ally to us by just looking on the inside of us, not just our hair, because we are not our hair. We are individuals, so looking beyond our hair is what.
Thank you.
No.
Some of us didn't have a choice.
All right. We have about time. I know we're going to go to you all. Do we have anyone else on the side?
Hold on. Because we're really running out of time.
Oh, wow.
And I just want to say, we are having a wonderful conversation in here, and we are not able to get as deep as we could with a topic like this because of the number of people. This is a serious subject. We're having fun because it's important to at least start that conversation. The workshops that we do on Beyond Race are typically more intimate so that you can really get into some good discussion about how those stereotypes impact you, okay? So for the sake of time, we're going to do one last activity. And we ask that the people on this side of the room, you're going to line up against that wall over there. Make sure you push your chairs in. And people on this side of the room, you're going to line up facing each other. You're going to line up on that side of the room. Please make sure you push your chairs in.
All right, so for our closing activity, and if you know Leading to Change, you know that we're all about the activity, right? We're all about the challenges, the obstacles that we can overcome together. Now, the purpose of this activity is to get to the center, all right? That is the purpose. Oh, you want to get to the center or the other side? All right. The purpose of this activity is to get to the center. All right? If you get to the center first and you win, you are victorious. All right? Your prize hasn't been determined yet, but more than likely, when you win, I'll tell you to bill me and I'll get you your prize later. But seriously, the purpose of the activity is to get to the center. Now, the way it's going to work is Ms. Kelsall and I have some questions to read off. Okay? If the question applies to you, if it's something that you can answer, all right, you'll answer it in the way that we describe in the statement. All right? I kind of said a lot there, so I'll explain it to you. So let's say, for example, if your favorite basketball team is the New York Knicks, you take one step forward. All right? And I know normally everybody would take a step forward, but I understand y'all understand this is just for, this is a practice one. All right? But that's essentially how the activity will work. Sometimes you will step forward, sometimes you will step backwards. It's completely up to you. Now, let's see. Now, for this activity, all right, you have to be quiet for the activity because you have to make sure everyone hears the question.
Completely silent.
All right, so everyone has to be completely silent. If you want, if you're like with your group mates, you can like hold hands and kind of kumbaya it, but that's completely up to you all.
Actually, much better if you do at least lock arms with the person next to you.
But
it really is. You don't have to.
Right, you don't have
but
to.
It's more powerful if you do, but you don't have to, especially those having their afternoon. I understand. All right? In order to hear the questions, we do ask that you remain silent. We will do a few of these, and your task is to try to get to the center of the room. Any questions on that?
All right.
All right? No questions, then I do respectfully ask that you remain silent for the rest of this activity.
All right. Now understand, the millennial generation is the most diverse generation that we've seen in the United States. All right? This is to better help you out and just have an understanding about who you are so that you can connect with them a little bit better. Okay? Now, if your ancestors were forced to come to the United States, not by choice, take one step back.
Back?
Yeah, back.
Yes. If your primary ethnic identity is American, take one step forward.
It doesn't have to be the biggest step. If you were ever called names because of your race, class, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation, take one step back.
If there were, please, I ask you again, please do not talk. If there were people of color who worked in your household as servants, gardeners, etc., take one step forward.
If you were ever ashamed or embarrassed of your clothes, your house, your car, or etc., take one step back.
If your parents were professionals, such as doctors, lawyers, etc., take one step forward.
If you were raised where there was prostitution, drug activity, gang violence, take one step back.
If you study the culture of your ancestors in elementary school, take one step forward.
If you went to school speaking a language other than English, take one step back.
If there were more than 50 books in your house when you grew up, take one step forward.
If you ever had to skip a meal or were hungry because there was not enough money to buy food when you were growing up, take one step back.
If you were taken to art galleries or plays or museums by your parents or caretakers, take one step forward.
If one of your parents was unemployed or laid off, not by choice, take one step back.
If you ever attended private school or a summer camp, take one step forward.
If your family ever had to move because they cannot afford the rent, take one step back.
If you were told that you were smart and capable by your parents, take one step forward.
If you were ever discouraged from academics or particular jobs because of your race, your class, your ethnicity, your gender, or your sexual orientation, take one step back.
If you were raised in a single-parent household, take one step back.
If you saw members of your race, ethnic group, gender, or sexual orientation portrayed on television in degrading roles, take one step back.
If you were ever offered a good job because of your association with a friend or family member, take one step forward.
If you were ever denied employment because of your race, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation, take one step back.
If you were ever accused of cheating or lying because of your race, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation, take one step back.
If you had to rely primarily on public transportation, take one step back.
If you have ever inherited money or property, take one step forward.
Keep it down, keep it down. If you were generally able to avoid places that were dangerous, take one step forward.
If you were ever uncomfortable about a joke related to your race, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation, take one step back.
If your parents did not grow up in the United States, take one step back.
If your parents or the main adults in your lives earned a high school diploma, please take one step forward.
If your parents earned undergraduate degrees, take one step forward.
Please take one proud step forward if you are the first person in your immediate family to pursue a college degree. Proud step.
Please take 2 steps forward if as a student or as a child you had people in your community who believed in you and challenged you.
Take 2 steps forward. Please take one proud step forward if you believe that we can make a difference in the lives of children and families across our state and our nation. Take one step forward.
All right, now at this time, if you all would, just reflect on reflect on the room around you. Reflect on your surroundings. Okay? Look at where you are. Look at where you came from. This is what we call the privilege wall. The strongest part about the privilege walk is a reflection afterwards. So I have to ask you all, how do you feel? You feel good? Does everyone feel good?
Proud. I heard blessed.
Blessed.
I heard feel good. Honored.
Honored.
Not a statistic.
Not a statistic. Thank you.
Rise above circumstances.
Rise. Say that loud and proud.
I rise above my circumstances.
We're all angels in our way.
We're all angels in our way and had angels surrounding us.
Yes.
Understand, our job is to continue to do this hard work. Like I told you before, I am one of the most optimistic people. I still want to save the world. We came from different parts of this room, and look at where we are. It doesn't matter what your circumstances were, where you've been, we are all in this room. That is a huge undertaking for many of us. I've done this activity with some of my students, my millennial students. They were in tears because they did not know or understand the opportunities that they had just because of their parents or their grandparents. Sometimes we take things for granted, folks, but we are all in here together. And that's a powerful statement to the work that you have done and your families have done and what we continue to do in this work. And I thank you for taking part in this activity. And I think Eric is going to do some final closing stuff.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thank you, Ms. Pat. Thank